If you haven't had an opportunity to watch Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, stop listening now, major spoilers. Here we go, man. I can't believe, man. Tywin Lannister is dead. Tyrion killed Tywin Lannister, and he killed Tywin Lannister with King Joffrey's crossbow. I want you to take that in for a second. It's so much irony inside of Game of Thrones, man. Every single action has an equal and opposite reaction, and you'll pay for every single sin that you commit inside this realm, man. If you do bad things, it's like karma comes right back around and it punishes you. It punishes you to the full extent of the law, and there's nothing that you can do about it. One of my favorite characters, man, died tonight. And I don't know how I feel about that as of right now, man. But I do know that I feel happy as far as with how the finale turned out. I do feel that because everything happened for a reason. I just wish that the character that I thought I knew was the character that I thought I knew and that I could end the series with, or that I could end that chapter with. But it just seems like that's not the likelihood. And we're talking about Shae, man. Jaime comes into the chambers, the dungeon where Tyrion Lannister is kept, because he's waiting to be sentenced to death. He lets Tyrion out. Tyrion starts walking up through the castle, and then he comes to his father's chambers. He opens the door. There's this woman laying on the bed. You hear, "Tywin, my love." And it's a familiar voice. I mean, there's no denying. As soon as you heard, the voice say, "Tywin, my love," if you're a fan of that character, you immediately became emotional, man. And you just kind of hope to yourself, like, that's not true. And then the camera, she looks up, she takes her head from underneath the pillow. She's butt naked. She looks up and you see that it's Shae. Shae looks directly into Tyrion's eyes, and he's just heartbroken, man. It destroyed him, man, and it sent him into this rage that we've seen before, but we haven't seen, I guess, in a while. And what ends up happening is that they get into a struggle, and Tyrion is pushed off of the bed. There's this rope, or I guess you could say part of a cloth that's kind of around Shae's neck, and Tyrion kind of holds on to dear life. As he's falling, he grabs onto this rope or this cloth, and after that he pulls it down with all his strength, all his might, and he chokes Shae out, and he chokes her to death. And as he's sitting there kind of taking all this in, he looks up on the wall, and you see a familiar item that's hanging on the wall still. And this is after the death of King Joffrey. Joffrey's crossbow is hanging on the wall, and Tyrion looks at it, and then you hear, you don't see anything, you just hear it sound like this. And that's him walking, dragging this crossbow, because it's huge. It's a humongous crossbow in the arms of Tyrion. And he walks through the castle looking for, his father, man, Tywin. Anyway, he comes into the restroom where his father is on the commode, man. And he's handling his business, Probably had some lemon pies, man, and couldn't hold it in or whatever. I don't know. But he comes in there and he points the crossbow, Joffrey's crossbow, at his father, Tyrion. Tyrion starts to, do his politics, man. "I've always loved you, son. You put that crossbow down and come over here," and all this other good stuff. But the reason why he's doing that is because, like I said, everything's, political, man. Jaime and Cersei, that they do some things, man. Brother and sister love, okay? Cersei tonight told Tyrion that she refuses to get married off. She's gonna stay here, and if you force me, Father, if you force me to do this, then I'll tell everyone the truth. And after that, he was like, "What truth?" Tyrion was like, "What truth are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh, Father." She was like, "Oh, Father, like you don't know. You've heard the rumors; they're all true." And so now, Tyrion, he knows, Tywin, he knows that Cersei and Jaime are actually a couple, I guess you can say, and all the rumors are true, man. So he's trying to reason with Tyrion to say, listen, I messed up. You're my son. You're pretty much my only heir. Everybody else is disrespected and messed up my legacy. And, my honor's on the line. And he makes the mistake. Tywin makes the mistake of calling Shay a whore. And Tyrion says, call her a whore again, or say that word again. And then he was like, "What? You'll shoot me? You'll shoot me with the crossbow, and I'll be dead, right here." And he kind of questioned, Tyrion's honor just a little bit, because obviously he's sitting on the commode. It's like, come on, man, let me get up and let's do this the honorable way. And Tyrion kind of explains, that I've always been there the whole entire time, Father. You just haven't noticed me or whatever. So Tyrion, says the word whore again, and then Tyrion shoots Tywin Lannister in the chest, man. And then after that, he picks up the bow again, and she loads it again, and he shoots him again, man. Shoots him 2 times, man, with King Joffrey's crossbow, and it's game over, man. I still can't. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything that's happening, man. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy at what's going on right now inside of Game of Thrones, man. Season 5, man, is actually going to be really, really good, man. But anyway, guys, we're out of here. Thanks again for listening, man. We're going to have more podcasts about the Game of Thrones finale, man. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, The Children, stop listening now. Major spoilers. Here we go. I just want to kind of go through just some of the minor things that happened inside of this season finale, and then we'll talk about the big stuff, man. Jon Snow, man, is all dressed in black. He goes to talk to Mace Rider, and all of a sudden, it seems like everything is going to go good inside the realm, man. Like, there's actually peace, man. Like, Mace Rider, he's not mad at Jon Snow. He kind of respects Jon Snow, for some reason. I think it's just maybe a thing of honor or something like that. All of a sudden, man, war breaks out, man. You hear this rumbling, man. It's like, and it gets louder and louder and louder. There's more of them, and all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of horses, man. There's about, I'd say 10,000, 20,000 men on horseback, riding through the riding through the lands, man. Coming to where Mance Rider and Jon Snow are at, and it's kind of crazy because you don't know who this is. You just know that they have a whole lot of men, and it's about to be war, man. Stannis Baratheon arrives, okay? And I guess he's kind of letting you know that, hey, I'm still here. You might not have seen me this season a whole lot, but I'm here. And now this is my time. So I guess going forward in season 5, that's what it's going to be, man. Jon Snow meets Stannis Baratheon, and it seems like for the first time, or maybe they didn't recognize each other, or, because obviously it's been a long time, man, since Ned Stark had, passed away, or got murdered. And Jon Snow does Stannis Baratheon a favor, man, and he says, if my father was here, he would give the wisdom to the king and tell him to burn the bodies. And so it was kind of cool to kind of see how they, how Jon Snow is still, kind of, I guess you could say, king-type worthy, I guess you can say, and still in that same frame of mind. The Mountain is still alive, okay? The Mountain's still alive, but he's poisoned, and he's dying, and Cersei decides to use this Frankenstein doctor. This is the same doctor that has all the medicine inside of Game of Thrones. He's a little frail looking guy, but he's very, very smart, man, as far as how the goes, how the the people in the realm go. He's very, very intelligent, man, has a lot of tricks, man. He's able to kind of help you out. It was the same guy, if you notice him, he looks like the same guy that helped Bran with his situation when he had first fallen, and a couple of other people, man. So yeah, make sure if you watch that episode, you'll definitely be able to know what I'm talking about. He's using this Frankenstein, I guess, technology. I guess it's like unconventional medicine to kind of unconventional medicine to kind of, see if he can revive the mountain, man. So that's kind of going forward to season 5. We'll probably see the mountain again, man, which I think is kind of cool. I don't really like it because I like Prince Oberyn myself, but at least the mountain is alive, so you got another character. But what's kind of frustrating, man, and I'm going to transition to that. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but I'll transition into it. Brienne of Tarth met with the Hound tonight, okay? And the Hound is dead. And with the Hound being dead, and the mountain has the possibility of living, that just kind of tells you something right there, But it's very, very, very frustrating, man, that the mountain lives and then the Hound dies. But moving on. I don't want to talk about Khaleesi right now. That's going to take probably another 5 to 10 minutes myself, man. But that's okay, man. Castle Black, man, they burn all the bodies that have been killed throughout the war. They actually showed that. It was like a little memorial-type service. Bran, Hodor, Jojen, Mira, they all arrive at the White Oak Tree. And then all of a sudden, Spinal from Killer Instinct, man, he pops up. And it just gets magical, man. It turns magical. It kind of shows you, I guess, the magical side of Game of Thrones, man, how magic plays into this land. And there's this person here called the Children. She's this little girl, but she's powerful. She's magical. She has like fire from her hands. She can shoot fireballs like Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter. She can do all that stuff, man. And the skeletons, from the Spinal Killer Instinct characters, they can't run through the opening to the castle or the cave wall, if you will, the cave door entrance. They can't run through there. As soon as they run through there, they break into bones, and it's very, very interesting, man. They're heading for next season, man. This is the last thing. They're heading to the city of Bravos, man, and you know what that means, man. Vir Morghulis, and yeah, all men must die. That's gonna happen next season. It plays heavy into it because the last thing you see Arya. She actually is riding off into the sunset on this ship heading to Bravos, man. So I can't wait for that, man. Anyway, guys, we're out of here, and I'll continue with the podcast, man. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, stop listening now. Major spoilers, here we go. The episode was called The Children, and my heart hurts right now because of what Khaleesi was forced to do to her children, man. This was, how do you want to say it? I never thought I cared about dragons. This is how magical and awesome and amazing Game of Thrones is. I never thought I cared about the dragons. I know I care about Khaleesi, so therefore, obviously a lot of that stuff transitions over. So, whatever's, important to Khaleesi is going to be important to me. And it literally broke my heart tonight, man. I was like tearing up. And I'm glad that they cut the scene when they did, because I wouldn't have been able to watch the rest of the season finale because it was just too damn sad. Let's be real. All the slaves, the former slaves, the ex-slaves, they come to Khaleesi. They're forming lines around her entranceway. And they're letting her know that they no longer want to be... That they no longer want to be... free. They wish to return to their masters because they feel like they don't have a purpose. They don't have a reasoning anymore, and that's something that is true, man. That is something I guess is true. Once you are freed from somebody, I guess you got to try to find your way. But if you're too old and you're too old to change, because, change comes with the frame of mind, then therefore you want to, go back to what you know. So Khaleesi comes up with this idea about, signing a contract, and there's going to be like this slave type contract, but it's like a worker's contract, and it's only for 1 year. That's the duration of it. The next person that arrives to talk to Khaleesi and address their problems to their queen is a poor man. A poor man arrives and he's holding something in his arms. And at first I thought, okay, man, this guy's going to try to kill Khaleesi. Somebody do something. And all of a sudden you see that he's tearing up, he's crying, he's doing things that, you know, a normal person wouldn't do. And it's very sad, man. He starts crying, he's talking in the native tongue, man. He removes the thing from his arms, he places it on the ground, and all of a sudden, like, he says, "The winged shadow attacked my city today, and they killed my Layla." And he removes the cover, and it's a corpse of a child, man. It's a child's corpse, and the corpse is burned, man. It's charred, man. And Khaleesi, you know, she apologizes. She really doesn't know what to say, but she just, you know, you can see it in her heart. It's sincere. She's sad, and the only thing that she has, the only option, I guess you can say, is to lock up her dragons. Now, the interesting thing is that there were only 2 dragons I saw. There was only 2 dragons tonight. But before I go there, she walks into where they hold the dragons at, and the dragons are following her. You know, first they're leading the way. You know, she opens the, I guess it's like the huge stone door to like a tomb, I guess you can say. And then they start walking down the steps, the dragons, 2 by 2, and then Khaleesi comes behind them, and she's kind of, you know, fast. She stays back at a distance. That's something that you notice too. She stays back at a distance, but she kind of, you know, is sad, and she's inside of their lair, and she looks around. She's sad. She looks at all of them. She's like, man, I can't believe we're having to do this. And you see like these 2 giant black chains, and these 2 giant black chains are what she's gonna use to actually put around their neck. I guess you could say like choke chains, dog chains. And as she's putting, you know, these chains around the dragons, man, the dragons are screaming as loud as they possibly can, man. They will probably break your eardrums, to be honest, man. And it's screaming like, you know, like mom, like I guess like a bird or an injured pet or a wounded dog. It's something so high pitched, like only an animal can obviously make. And I think they captured what a dragon would sound like if the dragon was making noises to where, you know, help me, save me, don't do this to me. And it was a piano, you know, soft, somber music behind it, and it was just one of those moments where it just blew your mind what they were able to do. And it's like, wow, what is this, you know? And she locks them up. She walks up the steps. She turns back and looks at them one more time. And then the stone is placed over the entrance of the tomb. And that's all you see. That's the last that you see of the dragons, man. And, you know, that was her locking her dragons up, taking flight from them. And it's just one of those things, man. It's like, I can't even believe it. I can't believe it, man. You know, that all this, you know, happened, man. I don't know, man. It's just sad, man. It's just absolutely sad, man. You know, you don't want nothing to happen to Khaleesi bad, but obviously, you know, Sir Alistair was saying that last time. He said, you can't control them, Khaleesi. You can't. You know, they're going to get to a point to where they become uncontrollable. And what I'm thinking, man, is that, you know, her being the mother of dragons, with her, you know, ruling and those dragons locked up in there, man, eventually, you know, she's going to have to open that door, and somebody's going to have to go down there and unlock them, unchain them, man, or they might even escape themselves, or like break the chains while they're in there. And then somebody opens the door and then they're killed, man. But I kind of like it, the fact, or I guess you could say the imagery behind it, to where they're saying, you know, she's mother of dragons, breaker of chains. And the mother of dragons, breaker of chains, she became the person that enslaved her own children tonight, man. I just trying to wrap my head around that, man. It's just very, very emotional, man. And I'm going to try to do a scene by scene analysis, man, tonight of that, to kind of show you guys, man. It was just, it's just really, really sad, man. Anyway, guys, we're out of here, man, and I'll continue on with talking about Game of Thrones. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, stop listening now. Major spoilers, here we go. Podrick and Brienne of Tarth are continuing their journey, heading to find Arya, and all of a sudden they run into her. It was, I guess, almost by chance, man, just by luck, you know, that they were heading in the right direction, decided to go on the right path, and then they see Arya, she's out there, you know, with her needle, kind of practicing and doing all these little crazy moves, you know, trying to do training. And Brienne of Tarth, she walks up, Arya turns around, and they have a little conversation, and all of a sudden, the Hound walks out, and there's just tension, man. There's tension because Podrick immediately recognizes the Hound. Brienne of Tarth doesn't recognize the Hound, obviously, for obvious reasons. And then they start kind of talking and telling the story about how Arya's mother, how she promised Arya's mother that she would bring her back to safety. And the Hound's like, you're not going anywhere with her, or you're not taking her anywhere. And then they start battling, man. And the reason why they battle is, you know, the Hound has, how do you want to say it? He has this need and desire for antique swords. Let's say it like that. Like, they could have just sat there and talked, you know what I'm saying? But the tension was too high. And then once she pulled out the steel, the Lannister steel, the Hound got excited. And he was like, it's been a while since I've touched Lannister steel, you know? I'm going to need to take that trophy or whatever. And all of a sudden, they start fighting, man. Now, this was, for me, like, it wasn't like the most gruesome, you know, Game of Thrones battle or nothing like that. It wasn't like, you know, Prince Oberyn versus the Mountain. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, it just showed you, I think, how much strength, you know, Brienne of Tarth actually has, man. It was like this female empowerment move that they did tonight. And the reason why I say that is because everyone knows the legend of the Hound, okay? Whether a lot of people want to admit it, I think the Hound, for me, is more popular than the Mountain. I mean, people will talk about the Mountain forever and they'll fear him, but the Hound is someone that if you sleep on, you're gonna be hurting. Like, you will die, you know, if you go against the Hound. I mean, he's crushed people, you know, just because they wouldn't buy him beer. I mean, you just name it. It's thousands of stories, you know. And Brienne of Tarth, you just know that she's strong enough to go against, you know, Jaime Lannister. She's strong enough to overpower Jaime Lannister, you know, who's a great swordsman. She's powerful enough to withstand torture and violence and rage, man. You know, going against a bear. Think about this, man. There's just thousands of different things that you can use to compare the Hound and Brienne of Tarth. And tonight we got, you know, I guess our answer. Who's the baddest mojo in the planet? Okay, if you're in the realm, you're gonna know Brienne of Tarth from now on, because Brienne of Tarth killed the Hound. She is the legendary Brienne of Tarth who killed the Hound, and it was absolutely. I thought it was going to be the end of Brienne of Tarth, because there's this moment where the Hound actually gets Brienne of Tarth on the ground. He grabs her neck and he's about to snap it when she kicks him in the balls. And then after that, he pushes her forward and then kicks her in her junk. And it literally looked like it hurt. And then after that, the Hound, he ends up falling to death. First, you know, the Hound is punching Brienne of Tarth's face, hitting it hard, you know, bam, bam. Then all of a sudden she does a reversal, and then she just starts loading on him. But the difference between Brienne of Tarth's, you know, punches and the Hound's, here's the Hound's hits. His sound like this. Brienne of Tarth is like this. It's like, you know, she's putting emphasis on those punches. She's throwing with every single amount of energy and power that she has on every single punch, man. She's throwing it. And the reason why, the justification for that is that, you know, she kind of told us a little bit of backstory when her and Arya start talking, because she's kind of interested in wondering why Arya is in there dancing around with the needle and why she's practicing. And then she kind of tells the story about how her father, you know, didn't believe that I was going to be this warrior or whatever, but he did teach me, you know, how to fight, because, you know, her father had this philosophy that if you're going to fight, you need to win, you know, every single time. And she kind of teaches Arya that. And all of a sudden, like, when she fought, and Arya, she's watching this the whole entire time. She's hiding, obviously, because she doesn't want to get caught, because the Hound doesn't trust Brienne of Tarth. And since the Hound and Arya have this relationship, whether people want to, I guess, agree with it or believe it or not, there is a relationship. There's a trust, a mutual trust. Now, obviously, Arya, she wants to kill the Hound. That he's on her list, but she doesn't know Brienne of Tarth, so she's going to trust whatever the Hound says to her. And the Hound says, you know, that I don't trust you, I'm going to fight you. So, you know, Arya's not going to, you know, run into the arms of Brienne of Tarth, even though she's talking about her mother. I mean, it's kind of hard to convince Arya, too, because Brienne of Tarth is arriving to Arya with a Lannister steel. So it doesn't sound good. It just doesn't work out. Anyway, man, the last blow that Brienne of Tarth gives the Hound sends him over the edge of this cliff. And he hits his back on a rock, snaps his spine. You know, he's not dead. He's just kind of like paralyzed. Snaps his spine. He continues to roll down the hill, breaks his leg, continues to roll down here, snaps his arm, snaps his wrist, and he can't do anything. He's just laying there kind of dead. And then all of a sudden you hear Brienne of Tarth, she starts screaming, you know, Arya! 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 She's screaming at the top of her lungs, you know, to try to get her to come out from hiding, you know, it's going to be safe or whatever. You know, even Podrick's out there yelling too. She's like, you know, Brienne of Tarth asks Podrick, where did she go? He was like, she was here just a few seconds ago. I don't know where she went. And that's that. She's like, find her. And they start running off, you know, trying to find her. Arya, she looks around, sees that the coast is clear. She goes down. She walks next to the Hound. The Hound is laying there bloody. You know, broken bones, broken spine, broken back, broken legs, broken wrist. You know, he's just laying there. And then all of a sudden, he readjusts himself just a little bit. So I guess it's a little bit more comfortable. And then what he tries to do is he tries to manipulate Arya to kill him. You know, he's kind of pleading with her and begging her, you know. And he's like, kill me, kill me, kill me. You know, he starts screaming at, but she doesn't give him the satisfaction. She lets him die by that death, by the death of, and check this is what's beautiful about it. It's not by the death of someone that really wants to kill her. It's just the death of Brienne of Tarth, man. Brienne of Tarth killed the Hound. That's how he'll die. He'll die at the hands of a woman also, but it's of Brienne of Tarth, man. You know, an actual, I guess you could say, warrior or whatever. One thing to notice, man, is like they let the Hound go out with honor. And there's this moment before Brienne of Tarth has the Hound kind of, you know, the upper hand on the Hound, and she pulls out her Lannister steel, she puts it up to his neck, she's about to stab him, and then she says, you know, kind of like surrender or whatever, you know, I'm not here to fight you. Well, he doesn't want to die that way, you know what I'm saying? So he grabs the Lannister steel with his bare hands, squeezes it, and it cuts into his hands. And he resists, he pushes it back and knocks her still out, the Lannister still, then punches her, and then, you know, continues on. But it kind of shows you how powerful and strong, man, and how stubborn, you know, the Hound is, his character. And I just really loved how they did that. You know, she, as in Arya, she was able to knock a person off her list, but she didn't have to kill him. She, you know, she's growing, she's learning, she's becoming, you know, a good character, man, like a great character. And I always said that's one of my favorite characters too. And I just can't believe the Hound is gone though. But it kind of shows you that she's ready. She's ready to move on without the Hound, because she could have, you know, picked the Hound up, took him to safety, and you know she didn't have to let him die, you know, but she did. She just let him die, man, and she didn't have to kill him. You know, she chose not to. She could have, but she chose not to. So, after that, you know, Arya, she heads over to this, shipway, lumberyard, whatever you want to call it, a little place where they release the boats at. And then she's heading to the city of Bravos, man. She gives him the Viva Morgulus coin, and then after that, she's heading off to her adventure, man. Anyway, guys, that's it, man. That was way too long. It was almost 10 minutes. We're out here. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch the Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, stop listening now. Major spoilers, here we go. The episode tonight was called The Children. And we're going to actually start with the children. This is the last and final podcast, so we're going to probably take a little bit longer to talk about it, because this is it. Bran, Hodor, Jojen, Mira, they all arrive at the White Oak Tree. When they arrive at the White Oak Tree, you notice that there's something, I guess you could say, something different, man. There's snow on the ground, and the color palette for this is a little bit brighter for Game of Thrones. It's bright. It's kind of funny looking, you know? And I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it was kind of a change of I guess you can say scenery, a change of this dark, you know, this dark color palette inside of Game of Thrones, man. Everything was bright when you got around the tree. You know, it was nice light, there was sunshine, and then before you can, you know, arrive to your destination, you know, where Bran needs to go to meet the Three-Eyed Crow, all of a sudden, man, darkness falls, and there's these hands start coming out the ground. At first, I thought they were zombies. I was like, what? I was like, so now, you know, Game of Thrones already had like ice walkers that were zombies, like The Walking Dead on ice. Well, now they have, you know, actual zombies coming from the ground, man. And it wasn't. It was these spinal killer instinct, you know, skeletons. They rose out from the ground, they grab their victim, and then they come up and they start killing you. Now, check this out. They come up with full armor. So if you ever watched, like, Lord of the Rings, and you remember the army that was in Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, it's kind of like that, except they're not ghosts. So they, I guess maybe Army of Darkness. That's kind of a better, yeah, that's kind of a better comparison. It's like Army of Darkness. They rise up, they're skeletons, they have full battle rattle on as far as, like, weapons, shields, armor, helmets. It was just crazy, man. But their bones, though, it's all old and dusty, and you know they have flesh hanging from them, and it's just absolutely insane what was there. All of a sudden, man, you know, this is the season finale, so they're going out with a bang, man. Jojen and Mira, man. Jojen gets grabbed first, okay? Mira runs up to him. I thought Jojen's legs were going to get ripped off because, you know, the skeletons are so powerful. Mira runs up. She tries to help her brother. All of a sudden, like, you know, 4 more skeletons rise up from the ground, man. You know, obviously, you know, Hodor is with Bran. Bran can't do anything because he doesn't have any working legs. But what Bran can do is use the power of Hodor. By the power of Hodor! Hodor. And that's what happens, man. Hodor, you know, gets taken by Bran. And then you have this Hodor vision, and Bran is now in Hodor. And that's where Hodor is at the absolute best, man. He starts destroying these cats, snapping these skeletons in half. Just literally, like, breaking them into 2. Mira, she finally gets her brother free. But he's hurt. Yeah, he's hurt, and then what ends up happening, man, is that all of a sudden this fireball out of nowhere comes, and you're like, what is off? I was like, first off, I was like, okay, maybe Bran has, like, you know, some type of new powers or something, or maybe he used, you know, some of his other powers to kind of call on somebody else, man. And this huge explosion, boom, two explosions, boom, boom, and then all of a sudden you see the skeletons, they start falling, people start running. Mira's holding her brother, Jojen. Hodor is still Bran, but Hodor's trying to go help, Jojen. Jojen yells out to Bran, save yourself, stop, save yourself. He doesn't listen, man, and that's where the fireball comes, and it destroys, 2 skeletons that are behind Bran. Bran releases Hodor. They turn around and kind of look over at where these fireballs came from, and there's this little girl. This little girl has, like, literally, I guess you can say it's like fire and ice powers. She throws out this fireball. She throws out this blue light, looks like ice, and she's like, quickly, hurry, get inside or whatever, you know. And they're like, who are you? And she's like, no time for that, get inside. So they start running. Before they can run, man, you know, Hodor grabs Bran. They start running inside. Mira and Jojen are left behind, and something, I don't know how this happens. I think it was Jojen that took the possession, or possessed the spirit of the skeleton, and actually stabbed himself and sacrificed himself. It just looked like that. And the reason why I say that is because, like, the skeleton was broken in half. How the hell did the hand get up and start stabbing Jojen? It stabbed Jojen in the chest, man. Jojen's dead. Mira starts crying. Mira finally, you know, gets the strength to kind of carry on. She gets up, she runs, and they run into the cave. As soon as they enter the cave, there's skeletons chasing after them. There's like 4 or 5 skeletons. Two of them get exploded, you know, by the powers of the girl. And then after that, the other skeletons that run inside the cave to chase after them, they blow up into bits, man. Like all their, you know, the skeletons kind of like, you know, the bodies fall apart, you know, and they break into pieces. This is kind of like the magical aspect and the magic of Game of Thrones. I think that's what we're into now. We're in like the age of magic, I guess you can say. Bran goes inside, and then after that he meets, I guess you can say, like the human form of the three-eyed raven. And the three-eyed raven is this old guy. Looks kind of like a mixture between Gandalf, Saruman, Raiden, and I guess you could say almost like Shang's son a little bit. It's kind of like that, like mixture, man. He's like this old wisdom-looking dude, man. He is the three-eyed raven, but I guess his form is the form that is most comfortable to human beings, if that kind of makes sense. He's only going to present himself in such a way that people of this realm can understand, I guess you can say. And Bran, you know, crawls over to him, and then he kind of explains some stuff. He says, "No, I'm not going to give you back your legs. You won't walk again, but you will fly." Don't know what that means. Maybe Bran's going to turn into a raven and fly away. Maybe he'll die. I don't know. Maybe he'll go to heaven. Maybe he'll go into the 9 realms. I have no clue. I don't know what's going on, but it was just crazy. Now, the girl that has all these powers, she finally explains who she is, and they call themselves the Children. The Children have been around for a very long time, born long, long before anyone else was here, and before everyone else in the realm. So I guess they're like, you know, 9,000 years old, billion years old, or whatever. Like, they're the first children of the earth, of the realm, and they're here now. But it's so scary and terrifying because this girl is creepy. It's absolutely creepy. She's like dirty, creepy. She's young. I can't really explain it, but it's that serious, man. That's all they give us, man, as far as for Bran's story. And Hodor is still alive. Mira's still alive. Jojen is dead. There's you know, like I said, the Children are here. They're like the old ancestors of the realm. And then the three-eyed raven is actually here. So that kind of sums up everything that was seen in there. And we don't know anything about the skeletons. We don't know anything about that yet. But I guess they're trying to fight against, you know, the Children. So anyway, guys, we're out of here. Thanks again for listening.